My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Color is far more red than her lips. Hello, all. My name is Abida Zacharias, and I am from the Department of English, Bharat Mata College, Trikakara. And today we will have a short discussion on Shakespeare's sonnets. So, before going in detail, we will discuss four basic questions of these sonnets. First one, how many sonnets did Shakespeare write? Yes, of course, I can hear your answer. It's 154. To whom these sonnets are addressed to? These sonnets are addressed to three people: friend or a patron, a dark lady, and a rival poet. And does this sonnet bear any title? No, because they are unconventional sonnets. They are either known by the number or by the first line. And the last question, why these sonnets have attained popularity? So we all know that we don't know anything about Shakespeare. So we dig out his personal details from these sonnets, and that's how these sonnets have become so much popular in these recent days. And that is why Wordsworth said that with this key, Shakespeare unlocked his heart. And we know that Dr. Johnson, in Preface to Shakespeare, as well as Virginia Woolf in Room of One Song, they said that Shakespeare is such a genius because his personal things does not come in his writing. And that is why Robert Browning also said that, did Shakespeare open his heart with his key? If so, the less Shakespeare he. The story of the sonnet seems to be this. The poet has a friend, a young, beautiful, noble man, whom he loves more than himself. And he also has a mistress, the so-called dark lady. In sonnet number 144, he writes, two loves I have, and one of despair and the other of comfort. But one day he realizes that the patron is having an affair with the dark lady, or the dark lady has seduced the patron. And then in several sonnets, he accuses the patron for deserting him for the rival poet, as well as stealing away the dark lady from him. And of course, there was a breach between these two people. And finally, after some years, maybe 2 or 3 years, they reconcile, and Shakespeare realizes that friendship is more important than a woman's love, or more loftier than a woman's love. And regarding the publication of the sonnets, the first mention of Shakespeare's sonnets comes in Franz Meur's Palladius Tamia, subtitled Wit's Treasury, in 1598. It is just the first mention, and sonnets numbered 138 and 144 came in The Pilgrim's Progress in 1599. But this Pilgrim's Progress, as you can see in the slide, that it is wrongly or incorrectly ascribed, the whole book is incorrectly ascribed to Shakespeare itself. First edition of 154 sonnets was published by Thomas Thorpe in 1609, called Shakespeare's Sonnets, never before imprinted. Of course, we know that it was imprinted earlier, and this edition is known as a quarto edition. And what do you mean by a quarto? If you fold a foolscap paper into four, there comes a quarto. And it is the kind of quarto at the time of Shakespeare was kind of 7-inch wide and 9-inch long. So it was sold for just 5 pence. And it also included a poem called A Lover's Complaint. And there is a dedication inside the Shakespeare sonnets. And let us see the dedication. To the only begetter of this ensuing sonnets, Mr. W.H. Only begetter means sole inspirer. And who has inspired Shakespeare? It is none other than W.H. And that is still an enigma. And as you can see, it is signed as T.T. So T.T. can be Thomas Thorpe, the editor of this folio, this quarto edition, Thomas Thorpe. And another thing is that, so it is not clear whether this dedication is by Shakespeare or by Thomas Thorpe himself. Rollins calls the identification of W.H. as a guessing game. So who are the candidates of W.H.? First one is William Herbert, the 3rd Earl of Pembroke, and Henry Wriothesley, 3rd Earl of Southampton, whose initials got reversed. Then William Hall, a piratical printer, William Harvey, stepfather of Earl of Southampton, who actually wanted Southampton to marry and beget children. And the 5th candidate is William Hathaway, Shakespeare's own brother-in-law. And next one is William Hughes, a boy actor. And if this dedication is done by Thomas Thorpe, the seventh candidate is none other than our own Will. Regarding the date of composition, and it is believed that these sonnets are composed in 1590s because of only one reason: there was an outbreak of plague at that time. And at that time, people were afraid to step out of their homes and theatres remained closed. So we believe that maybe at that time Shakespeare might have got some time to pursue his poetic talents. And what about the arrangement of these sonnets? Let's see that. The first series of sonnets, that is from 1 to 126, are dedicated to his young friend. And sonnet number 1 to 17 asks him to marry and produce children since his youth will fade away. And 18 to 126 addresses him as a patron, but 100 and to 126 sonnets, it is addressed after 2 or 3 years. So we mentioned that earlier in our story itself. And then a set of sonnets are addressed to rival poet, that is from 78 to 80 and 82 to 86. And he considers this rival poet a worthier pen to whom I am inferior far. So his attitude towards the rival poet is full of respect. And then the third series of sonnets, it is addressed to the dark lady, and it is from 127 to 152. And there are certain variations also. Sonnet number 146 got a religious theme, and sonnet number 130 is a parody of Petrarchan mistress, and last two sonnets, 153 and 154, are epigrams of Cupid. And Shakespeare puns with the word will in his sonnet numbered 135 and 136. And one more thing, the last sonnet of the first series, that is sonnet number 126, it consists of only 12 lines. Okay, let us find who all are the candidates for Shakespeare's friend or patron. First one is Henry Wriothesley, the third Earl of Southampton, and the second one is William Herbert, third Earl of Pembroke. You can choose the one you like. Then, Dark Lady. The second set of sonnets introduces Dark Lady to us, and poet's attitude towards Dark Lady is lustful, and she creates a turmoil in the poet's mind. So these are the possible candidates. Earlier, people believed that it was none other than Mary Fitton, maid of honor of Queen Elizabeth. And she ran after Pembroke. She got pregnant by Pembroke, but later, Pembroke was not willing to marry her, and Queen Elizabeth, she put Pembroke in prison, and later Pembroke married Mary Fitton in 1604. The next candidate is Elizabeth Vernon, a lady in waiting of Queen Elizabeth I. Southampton married her, but after a few months, she delivered a child, and Queen was again unhappy, and she put Southampton in prison for a short while. Then the third one is none other than Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare's own wife, and the fourth one is Anne Wadley. And at the time he was courting Anne Hathaway, he was courting Anne Wadley too. And it is believed that Anne Wadley with her husband might have came and visited Shakespeare in London. And the last one is none other than Elizabeth I. And poet is very humble and full of humility when he talks about the rival poet. So we have two candidates, one is Christopher Marlowe and the other one is George Chapman. And what is the rhyme scheme of a Shakespearean sonnet? That is how it rhymes. Let's see. As you can see here, day rhymes with May, temperate rhymes with date, shines and declines, dimmed and untrimmed, fade and shade, overst and grows, C and D. So the rhyme scheme of the poem, so the sonnet itself is A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. And as you all know, the sonnet is written in amp. Shakespeare's most of the lines are written in amp itself. And what is amp? There will be 5 feet, 10 syllables, one unstressed will be followed by one stress. It actually imitates the beating of a heart like duck, 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 duck. That is amp. So let us read the first line. Those lips that love's own hand did make. Those lips that love's own hand did make. So that is the meter that Shakespeare followed in his sonnets. And what are the themes of Shakespeare's sonnets? That is, it deals with the universal theme of love and friendship. It also deals with time, death, change, lust, beauty, etc. But Shakespeare gives importance to time. He personifies time. He hates time because time destroys the beauty and brings out death and old age. But this is an irony because even though Shakespeare detests time, his sonnets are now timeless. And with Tennyson, we can also say that, "Nor can the soul of Shakespeare love thee more." Thank you.